In this video, I show you how I painted my fire vampires from Cthulhu, Death May Die. So here's my test model. So this is kind of what we are shooting for. And so when I started off, I primed a gray, and then I hit it with some white ink right in the front. But if you're going to follow this, you might as well just do the whole thing white, because I changed my mind how I was going to paint it. It probably would be better for the whole thing to be white. Okay, so starting off on my palette, I got some black paint here, and that is thinned out with black wash, which is something I've been doing lately. And then that is white paint, and that is thinned out with gloss varnish. And black and white paint are they're different from the other pigments, and I've been trying to find better ways, more effective ways of thinning them out and using them. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to hit everything that is going to be black with this black paint, black wash mix. And because of the way I mixed it, I'm going to use this size 4 brush. It should go on with just one coat, or you might have to do a few touch-ups. And I'm not too worried about this getting into the recesses, because I'm actually not going to do black in the recesses. I'm going to try to do a sort of fiery effect, like the heat from inside is like coming out. So there we go. And now I'm going to take the white paint, and I'm pretty much going to cover everything else in another layer of white. And I want this to be pretty bright, that for the blending that I'm going to do over it and the fire effect I'm going to do over it. So I'm just going to do a coat of this over the white ink. One coat probably will do, but over the gray and in all the recesses, probably 2 coats would be good. And so that's what she looks like after those colors are put down. Okay, I put a little magenta here on the palette. This is the same magenta I've been using for all the rest of this project, and I'm going to do this little tiny thing that's coming out, just so I like having this color on not every piece, but most of the pieces. So anything that's like a tentacle, I'm doing this magenta. All right, so I have a yellow, orange, and red glaze on my palette. If you're unsure on how to make glazes, there is a video in my How I Do Things playlist for that. And so I'm actually going to start and use it more like a wash. I'm not wicking the brush out, and I'm going to put some yellow on here, and then I'm going to clean my brush and fill it up with orange and paint it on and blend it right here on the mini. And then I'm going to do that with the red as well. It is pretty runny, so if you depending on how you're holding the miniature, the paint might run into the other paint. And because I'm using the glaze medium, it's going to take forever to dry, but this will get a good solid coat and some initial blends, and then I'm going to glaze out the transitions later. But again, I'm using the glaze, but not how I have in the past. I'm not wicking it out on the brush. I'm just leaving it all in, and I'm trying to get down some quick base coats with some simple blends in the transitions, and then we're going to kind of smooth those out with some traditional glazing a little bit later. All right, so it has run around a little bit before it was drying, and it's mixed a little bit on there, and it'll be fine. I'm going to go ahead and I'll smooth that out with some more traditional glazing as I move along on the piece. Start the fire effect in the middle by just getting a big brush full of yellow. I didn't wick it out. I just want to get this down nice and solid. I'm also going to do everything else that is going to start off as yellow. And again, I didn't wick the glaze out this time, using it like a wash over white and just getting down a strong coat. I did this twice on the flames and like the claws and stuff. And so now I'm actually going to start glazing proper. So you saw I wicked that out. And when I'm glazing, I'm going to take the yellow. I'm going to start in the orange section or farther down. And I'm going to move the brush towards where I want it to be brightest yellow. And that's going to build up the yellow as we get closer to that section. And then while there's still wet on here, I'm going to do the same thing with the orange and just kind of work on that transition. And then on the chest portion, again, I'm going to start in the yellow, and I'm going to move my brush over towards where I want the orange to be, to help kind of create a transition between the yellow and the orange. And you don't see much of an effect after one coat, but let that dry, go back, do it a bunch of times, and you'll get a real strong saturated orange, and there'll be a nice transition between the colors. And I'm also going to take this orange, and that's the first color I'm going to put in all of the recesses. And this is going to take probably 2 coats, but because I'm doing it over white and I wicked it out so it's nice and thin, it actually gets a little yellow in there too. All right, I'm going to take that same orange, going to wick it out, and then I'm going to glaze probably the top third on all the flames. So after a bunch of orange layers, I'm now going to do the same thing with red. So I'm going to start in the orange and then transition my brush, move it towards where I want the red to be strongest. And one coat doesn't really look like much, but we're going to come back and do many thin coats, and it's going to build up the saturation and it's going to build up the intensity. And I'm going to do this, you know, all over the mini, doing it in this chest area. You're going to do it at the top of the flames, going to do it on the claws, going to work on the transitions on the tail, do it around the edges of this fan thingy. And then I'm also going to take this and I'm going to glaze it on the black skin around the recesses, so it looks like it is a higher temperature in the recesses, and then that is kind of showing through, or it's heating up the skin around it, and that will be a cooler red. And from here on out, I'm just going back and forth between the 3 glazes and working the transitions where I want them to look a little smoother or be a little brighter, and adding some more layers to the skin to make it redder, make it warmer, and just, you know, you can just doing this until I'm happy with it. So if you're doing something similar, just keep going until you're happy with it. When you're happy, go ahead and stop. So I added a couple more, I had some highlights to the tongue, just got a higher value magenta, did that, and glazed until I was happy with it. It didn't take long. I didn't spend hours on this. It was probably less than 2 hours with the glazing, maybe less than an hour. I lost track of time because glazing, I just glazed and listened to podcasts, kept going. And I'm pretty happy with it. I think it'll look good on the table. And the glowing in the recesses I don't think came out as well, but the fire effect, like the colors on the tail and the way it looks in the chest and on that, the open mouth with the flames and stuff, I'm really happy with. So there we go. That's how I painted the fire vampire from Cthulhu Death May Die.